Have you ever wondered why certain people or situations seem to pull you into frustration or anger, even when you strive to stay calm? In a world full of challenges, misunderstandings, and personal expectations, it's easy to feel emotionally triggered. Yet, in the ancient teachings of the Buddha, there exists a peaceful and practical path, one that gently guides us toward emotional clarity, spiritual growth, and lasting inner peace. In today's video, we will explore how to never get angry or bothered by anyone, from a deeply traditional Buddhist perspective. These teachings are rooted not in modern science or psychology, but in the timeless wisdom that has helped countless individuals free themselves from the cycle of suffering. With mindfulness, non-attachment, and gentle observation, we can transform how we respond to the world around us. You'll learn how to stop reacting emotionally, how to practice silence over retaliation, and how to let go of expectations that only bring pain. You'll discover why gratitude dissolves anger, and how to use criticism as a path to self-liberation rather than self-destruction. This journey is especially meaningful for those aged 35 and above who are seeking emotional stability, spiritual direction, and peace of mind as they move through life's deeper stages. Whether you are feeling overwhelmed by the behaviors of others, burdened by expectations, or simply seeking a more mindful way to live, this video will offer insights grounded in Buddhist wisdom to help you walk the path of calmness and freedom. Let us begin with the first insight on our journey toward peace: how to stop reacting emotionally and reclaim control over your mind. This is a question many of us face in our everyday lives. How can we remain calm when others provoke us, insult us, misunderstand us, or behave in ways that ignite the fire of anger within? The Buddha taught that emotional reactions are not caused by what others do, but by the mind's attachment to control, its clinging to expectations, and its resistance to what is. It is not the world that disturbs us, it is how we respond to it. The key lies in mindfulness, in observing without grasping, and in understanding that emotions arise and pass like clouds in the sky. They do not define who we are unless we allow them to take root. To truly understand this, let us reflect on a powerful moment from the life of the Buddha, an event that speaks deeply to this very lesson. One day, while walking through the town of Rajagaha with his disciples, the Buddha was approached by a man who was consumed by anger and jealousy. This man had heard rumors, twisted truths, and accusations about the Buddha, and rather than seek understanding, he chose to confront the Blessed One with a flood of harsh and insulting words. He shouted, ridiculed, and hurled verbal abuse at the Buddha in front of others, hoping to shame or provoke him. The disciples, watching from behind, were tense and waiting for a response. But the Buddha stood still, silent, calm as a mountain. When the man finished his verbal attack, the Buddha spoke in a gentle, even tone. He said, "If a person brings a gift to another, but that gift is not accepted, to whom does the gift belong?" The man, caught off guard, replied, "It remains with the giver." The Buddha then said, "In the same way, I do not accept your anger. It remains with you." This response was not cleverness, it was clarity. It was the result of years of deep meditation and understanding the nature of the mind. The Buddha had no need to defend himself, because his peace did not depend on the opinions of others. He saw the man's anger not as a personal attack, but as a display of inner suffering. And he had trained himself to look upon such suffering not with retaliation, but with compassion. This story carries a timeless lesson. When we are insulted, our first instinct may be to fight back, to prove ourselves right, to strike with words or actions. But when we react emotionally, we become slaves to those very emotions. The Buddha teaches us that we have a choice, a sacred pause, between what happens and how we respond. In that pause, there is freedom. Emotional mastery begins not by suppressing our feelings but by observing them. When anger arises, do not become it. Watch it. Feel it in the body. Notice the heat, the tension, the thoughts that follow. Then ask yourself, is this useful? Does this help me or others? Or am I feeding the fire within? Over time, this observation dissolves the reaction. You begin to understand that nothing outside of you can disturb your peace unless you allow it. The person who yells at you is offering a gift, just as in the Buddha's story. You do not have to accept it. Let it pass, like a leaf floating down a river. Remind yourself that every emotional storm is temporary. Like clouds passing through the sky, they come and go. But you, the sky of awareness, remain untouched. Reclaiming control over your mind means anchoring yourself in this awareness. It means practicing mindfulness every day, not only in meditation but in the moment someone cuts you off in traffic, ignores your kindness, or says something cruel. Each of these is an opportunity to choose peace over reaction. And with every choice, your inner strength grows. You no longer live at the mercy of others' behavior. You become steady, grounded, and gentle like the Buddha himself. When you stop reacting emotionally, you discover a deep well of clarity, compassion, and wisdom within you. This is not weakness. This is true power, the power to remain calm in a chaotic world, to respond with presence instead of pain, and to walk the path of peace, one mindful breath at a time. Now we come to the second insight, the power of mindfulness and non-attachment in daily life. In the teachings of the Buddha, these two qualities, mindfulness and non-attachment, are like the wings of a bird, carrying us above the turbulence of everyday problems toward a place of clarity and peace. In a world full of distractions, desires, and emotional triggers, mindfulness helps us stay rooted in the present moment, fully aware of what is happening inside us and around us, without being pulled by every passing thought or feeling. Non-attachment, on the other hand, teaches us not to cling to outcomes, people, possessions, or even our own ideas. When combined, these two practices free us from the suffering that comes from grasping, craving, and resisting what is. Mindfulness is not about withdrawing from the world, it is about living with full presence in each moment. When you drink tea, you are aware of the warmth, the aroma, the texture. When you speak with care and attention. When someone is angry at you, you observe your breath and the rising heat in your chest, but you don't get swept away by it. This moment-to-moment awareness allows us to step back and respond with wisdom instead of reacting blindly. Non-attachment does not mean you stop caring, it means you stop expecting. You still love, but you no longer cling. You still work hard, but you let go of the need for things to go exactly your way. This shift brings immediate relief. Imagine how much suffering comes from our attachments, the desire to always be praised, the fear of losing control, the constant comparison with others. These attachments are the root of inner turmoil. The Buddha taught that clinging is like holding a burning coal with the intent to throw it at someone, it only burns you. When we practice non-attachment, we begin to see everything in life as temporary, feelings, achievements, possessions, even relationships. This doesn't make us cold, it makes us wise. It allows us to love more deeply because we're no longer loving with fear. We begin to live with an open hand rather than a clenched fist. In daily life, mindfulness helps us recognize the small moments where suffering begins, when we judge ourselves, when we grasp at praise, when we resist change. Non-attachment allows us to release these patterns gently. Together, they help us stay calm in conflict, patient in difficulty, and joyful in simplicity. The Buddha said, "Nothing whatsoever should be clung to as I or mine." When you live with this understanding, peace arises naturally. You no longer chase happiness in external things, nor do you lose your balance when things fall apart. You become like a lotus that blooms unsoiled in muddy water, present, free, and untouched by the world's restlessness. This is the power of mindfulness and non-attachment, to live each day not with struggle, but with serenity, not with craving, but with quiet contentment. Now we arrive at the third insight on the path to inner peace, why expecting others to be like you leads to disappointment, and how to free yourself from it. This is a gentle yet profound truth in Buddhist wisdom that many overlook, yet it holds the key to emotional clarity and lasting harmony in our relationships. Most of our suffering in human interactions comes from our silent, unspoken expectations, that others should think as we do, behave as we would, react the way we consider appropriate, or value what we find important. But in truth, no two people walk the exact same inner path. Each of us is shaped by different causes, conditions, karmic tendencies, and levels of understanding. To expect others to mirror our behavior or worldview is like asking a bird to swim or a fish to fly. It misunderstands the nature of things. In Buddhism, we are taught to see things as they are, not as we wish them to be. Letting go of expectations does not mean giving up on people or allowing harmful behavior. Rather, it means seeing others with clarity, compassion, and acceptance, without imposing our own mental framework onto them. A powerful Zen story illustrates this well. A Zen master once had a disciple who became frustrated because others in the monastery did not meet his standards of discipline and silence. He would often complain, "Why can't they be more mindful, like me?" One day, the master took him on a walk through the forest and said nothing. After some time, the master stopped and pointed to a crooked tree growing beside a perfectly straight one. "Do you see those two trees?" he asked. The disciple nodded. "One grows straight and tall, and the other bends and twists in many directions. Yet both receive the same sunlight, the same rain, and grow peacefully side by side. Neither tries to change the other." The disciple remained silent, his eyes lowered. The master continued, "If you go into the forest, you will see all kinds of trees, some strong, some weak, some flowering, some bare. And none of them argue with each other. They simply grow as they are. Can you not learn to do the same with people?" This story, simple and short, carries an eternal truth. People are like those trees in the forest. Some are patient, some are reactive, some are generous, some are self-focused. Expecting all of them to be like us, or worse, trying to control them, only leads to resentment and exhaustion. When we drop these expectations, we begin to experience a deeper peace. We stop trying to fix or change others and focus instead on cultivating our own practice, our own inner calm. This shift also frees our relationships. We stop judging others constantly or being disappointed by their behavior. Instead, we meet them where they are, as they are, without clinging to the idea of who they should be. This is the path of compassion, not frustration. The Buddha said, "Just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so, let one cultivate a boundless love toward all beings." Boundless love begins where rigid expectations end. It is not blind, it sees clearly, accepts deeply, and responds with kindness rather than control. When you understand this, you release yourself from a heavy burden, the burden of needing others to behave as you think they should. You start to live more lightly, breathe more freely, and love more wisely. You begin to allow others their space to grow, just as the trees in the forest do. And most importantly, you protect your own peace of mind, knowing that freedom does not come from changing others, it comes from changing your own heart. Now we continue with the fourth essential teaching, how to detach from negativity and set boundaries without guilt. In Buddhist wisdom, learning to protect your inner peace does not mean shutting people out with anger or cutting ties with bitterness. It means skillfully stepping back from harmful energy while holding compassion in your heart. Negativity, whether it comes from others or from within our own minds, is like a burning coal. If we carry it, it will burn us. If we respond to it with more negativity, we create further suffering. The Buddha taught that all beings are caught in their own cycles of craving, ignorance, and aversion, and that reacting to those cycles only entangles us more deeply. Detachment, in this context, is not cold indifference, it is wisdom in action. It means recognizing when a situation, a conversation, or even a relationship is consistently harmful to your mental well-being and choosing to step back without blame. Setting boundaries is a compassionate act, both for yourself and for others, because it prevents the continuation of unwholesome patterns. You are not responsible for the emotions or behavior of others, you are only responsible for how you respond. And in order to respond with clarity and loving kindness, sometimes space is necessary. In daily life, This may look like limiting time spent with people who drain your energy, calmly ending toxic conversations, or saying no without the need for over-explaining. Many feel guilt when doing this because we have been conditioned to believe that kindness means self-sacrifice. But Buddhist teachings remind us that compassion includes the self. You cannot offer genuine peace to others if your own heart is heavy with exhaustion and resentment. By setting clear, peaceful boundaries, you create the conditions for your own growth, and you allow others the space to reflect and grow as well. This is not selfishness, it is spiritual maturity. The Buddha said, "Just as a solid rock is not shaken by the storm, even so, the wise are not affected by praise or blame." That stability comes from inner discipline and the courage to walk away from situations that disturb your peace. Detaching from negativity doesn't mean pretending it doesn't exist. It means acknowledging it clearly, without becoming entangled in it. You observe your reactions, breathe deeply, and remind yourself, "This is not mine to carry." You release the need to fix others, to please everyone, or to argue your worth. Instead, you choose stillness over struggle, silence over conflict, and self-respect over guilt. In this way, every time you honor your own boundaries, you strengthen your inner foundation. You become more centered, more calm, and more able to offer true kindness without being consumed by the suffering of others. And slowly, you realize that protecting your peace is not an act of defense, it is an act of love. Now we come to the fifth essential teaching, the wisdom of silence and how it's more powerful than retaliation. In the modern world, where voices rise quickly in defense, outrage, or revenge, silence is often misunderstood as weakness or submission. Yet in the Dhamma, silence is the voice of inner strength, mindfulness, and clarity. It is not a withdrawal from truth, but a deep alignment with it. Silence, when guided by wisdom, is far more powerful than retaliation, because it breaks the cycle of suffering rather than continuing it. The Buddha often demonstrated this truth not just through words but through his presence. A lesser-known but deeply moving story comes from the time when the Buddha encountered a young Brahmin named Bharadvaja, who was furious with the Buddha for challenging the rigid caste system. Bharadvaja came to confront the Buddha while he was calmly seated under a tree. With an angry face and harsh words, the Brahmin questioned the Buddha's teachings, demanding that he justify why he treated all people as equals, even those considered untouchable by social norms. The Buddha listened in perfect stillness. He did not interrupt, nor did he argue. When the Brahmin had exhausted his harsh speech, the Buddha responded, not with retaliation, but with a serene gaze and a question. "Brahmin, if a man learns the truth, practices it with discipline, and purifies his heart, does his caste still matter?" The Brahmin was stunned into silence. The Buddha continued, "A person is not noble by birth. A person becomes noble by their actions, by their wisdom, and by their compassion." In that still moment, without shouting, debating, or accusing, the Buddha transformed the man's heart. Bharadvaja was so moved by the Buddha's peaceful composure and clarity that he bowed at his feet and requested to become a follower. This story teaches us that silence does not mean avoiding conflict, it means rising above it. Silence does not mean ignoring injustice, it means responding to it with wisdom instead of reaction. Every time we choose silence over retaliation, we dissolve the tension rather than feed it. We create the space in which insight can arise, both in ourselves and in those who challenge us. The Buddha's silence was not cold or passive, it was filled with presence. In our daily lives, we too are faced with moments when words fly like arrows, criticism, gossip, blame, or unjust judgment. In such moments, we have a choice: we can throw words back, fueling the fire, or we can pause, return to our breath, and choose the higher path of silence. This silence is not the absence of courage, it is the presence of wisdom. It allows us to respond only when words are truly needed and beneficial. The Buddha said, "When we speak, let our words be gentle, true, and purposeful. When those conditions are not met, let silence be our refuge." In silence, we are not submitting, we are observing. We are anchoring ourselves in stillness, resisting the pull of ego and reaction. And in that space, healing can begin. We stop the momentum of harm and turn inward, where peace lives. Silence also teaches others. When you refuse to retaliate, you mirror back to others the futility of their anger. Sometimes, your stillness speaks louder than any clever reply. Over time, this cultivates deep inner discipline. You begin to see that you are not responsible for managing other people's emotions or winning every argument. You are only responsible for the state of your own mind. And in that awareness, silence becomes a sacred act. It allows room for reflection, for compassion, and for transformation. So the next time someone seeks to provoke you, to pull you into conflict, pause. Breathe. Remember the Buddha under the tree, unmoved by shouting, grounded in truth. Let your silence speak of your strength, your wisdom, and your freedom from the need to react. In this way, silence becomes your protector, your teacher, and your guide to true peace. Let us now explore the sixth insight: why gratitude can dissolve anger instantly. In the teachings of the Buddha, gratitude is not just a fleeting feeling of thankfulness. It is a powerful inner state that transforms the entire landscape of the mind. When anger arises, it clouds our perception, narrowing our focus to what we lack, what we resent, or what we believe has gone wrong. In contrast, gratitude opens the heart, shifts our attention to what is already present, and brings a sense of calm and contentment. The two cannot coexist. Where true gratitude enters, anger fades away like mist in the morning sun. According to Buddhist wisdom, one of the greatest antidotes to the fire of anger is the cooling balm of appreciation. The Buddha encouraged his disciples to reflect daily on the blessings they receive: life, breath, food, shelter, loved ones, and the opportunity to practice the Dhamma. When we train the mind to see the good that surrounds us, our grip on irritation loosens. We stop reacting from a place of scarcity or hurt and begin to respond with understanding and patience. Even when someone offends or hurts us, bringing our attention back to gratitude, for our own composure, for the lesson being taught, for the opportunity to grow, restores balance. Gratitude brings us into the present moment. Anger, on the other hand, often pulls us backward into old wounds or forward into imagined fears. But when we pause and mindfully notice the gifts of this very moment, our breath, our body, the sound of the wind, the silence between thoughts, we realize we are not lacking. The Buddha taught, "Let us rise and be thankful, for if we didn't learn a lot today, at least we learned a little. If we didn't learn a little, at least we didn't get sick. And if we got sick, at least we didn't die. So, let us all be thankful." This simple reflection shows how even in difficulty, gratitude brings peace. When we live from gratitude, we train the mind to release its habit of grasping and blaming. This does not mean we ignore pain or tolerate abuse. It means we shift from resistance to acceptance, from victimhood to empowerment. Instead of dwelling on what others should have done differently, we recognize what we can do now to remain free. Gratitude softens the heart. It reminds us that every person who tests our patience is also giving us a chance to deepen our understanding and compassion. Anger contracts the heart, gratitude expands it. So, whenever you feel frustration rising, pause. Close your eyes. Take a breath. And name 3 things you are thankful for, right in that moment. You will feel a subtle shift, light entering the mind, anger losing its grip. Practice this regularly, and you'll notice how easily gratitude can dissolve even the most persistent anger. It is not just an emotion, it is a spiritual discipline. And in that discipline lies the doorway to peace, patience, and liberation. Now we move to the 7th reflection: how to reframe criticism as a tool for self-growth. In the light of Buddhist wisdom, criticism, whether fair or harsh, is not something to be feared or resisted, but rather embraced as a mirror for self-understanding. The Buddha himself was often subjected to ridicule and false accusations, yet he responded not with anger or defensiveness, but with calm awareness and introspection. He taught that when someone points out a fault, even if their tone is unkind or their words are misguided, we can use that moment to examine our own mind with honesty and humility. Criticism offers us the opportunity to ask, is there truth in what is being said? Can I learn something about my behavior, speech, or thinking that I have not seen before? Rather than shutting down or reacting emotionally, we can open up inwardly. This shift, from wounded pride to mindful reflection, is the essence of spiritual growth. Criticism loses its sting when we no longer depend on the approval of others for our sense of worth. When the mind is trained in mindfulness and non-attachment, it learns to remain steady in both praise and blame. As the Buddha said, just as a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, so the wise are not moved by praise or blame. When we hear criticism, we can breathe deeply, observe our internal reaction, and meet it with compassion. Even if the criticism is unfair, it becomes an opportunity to strengthen equanimity and patience. If the criticism is accurate, it becomes a gift, pointing us toward areas of improvement we may have ignored. Every comment, however unpleasant, becomes a teacher. Instead of asking, "Why are they attacking me?" we begin to ask, "What can I learn here?" This transforms the critic into a mirror and ourselves into humble students of life. Growth does not come only through comfort and compliments, it comes through the friction of honesty, the discomfort of being seen, and the strength to remain open-hearted in the face of discomfort. The Buddha emphasized right view and right speech as part of the Noble Eightfold Path, reminding us that we must speak, and listen, with wisdom and care. When we encounter criticism, we can also respond skillfully, neither with silence born from fear, nor with sharp retaliation, but with calm understanding. We can clarify misunderstandings, set healthy boundaries, or accept feedback gracefully. This strengthens not only our character but our inner peace. When you reframe criticism as a tool for self-growth, it stops feeling like an attack and starts feeling like a lesson. It's not always easy, but with practice, the mind becomes more resilient, less reactive, and more grounded in wisdom. Let criticism polish you like a stone in a stream, gently, persistently, until the rough edges are smooth. In this way, every harsh word can serve the purpose of spiritual refinement, and every difficult encounter can become part of your journey toward freedom and clarity. Finally, we arrive at the eighth and deeply transformative insight, the Buddhist path to letting go and achieving true emotional freedom. Letting go is central to the Buddha's teaching and is the key to releasing ourselves from the endless cycle of suffering caused by attachment and clinging. Emotional freedom arises not from controlling external circumstances, but from freeing the mind from the grip of desire, aversion, and ignorance. The Buddha taught that all phenomena are impermanent, arising and passing away in continuous flux. When we grasp onto people, opinions, or experiences as fixed and unchanging, we set ourselves up for pain and disappointment. True freedom comes from recognizing this impermanence and learning to rest in non-attachment, an open, peaceful state where we do not resist life's natural flow. This does not mean becoming cold or indifferent, rather, it means cultivating wisdom that allows us to love and engage with the world without being controlled by it. The path of letting go begins with mindful awareness, observing our thoughts, feelings, and impulses without judgment or clinging. When a difficult emotion like anger or sadness arises, instead of pushing it away or feeding it, we simply acknowledge it and watch it move like a cloud passing through the sky. This practice gradually weakens the habitual patterns of craving and aversion that bind us. The Buddha's teaching of the Four Noble Truths guides us here. Suffering exists because of attachment. By understanding this deeply, we can walk the Eightfold Path, cultivating right view, right intention, and right mindfulness, which leads to liberation. Emotional freedom is the blossoming of this inner work, where we no longer feel trapped by our reactions, judgments, or fears. We develop equanimity, a steady and balanced mind that remains calm amidst life's ups and downs. Letting go is also an act of compassion toward ourselves and others, as we release blame, resentment, and expectations that cause discord. When we let go, we create space for joy, kindness, and peace to arise naturally. The Buddha said, "In the end, only three things matter: how much you loved, how gently you lived, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you. Practicing letting go is a lifelong journey, requiring patience, courage, and gentle self-awareness. It is not about forcing detachment but allowing the heart to open freely beyond the illusions of possession and control. As you cultivate this path, you will discover a profound sense of liberation, where your peace of mind is not dependent on outer conditions but shines from within, steady and radiant. This is true emotional freedom, the hallmark of a mind awakened and aligned with the Buddha's timeless wisdom. As we come to the close of this exploration into the profound teachings of the Buddha on managing anger, emotional reactions, and finding true inner peace, it is important to reflect deeply on what has been shared. Throughout this journey, we have touched upon essential Buddhist principles. How to stop reacting emotionally and reclaim control over the mind, the power of mindfulness and non-attachment, freeing ourselves from unrealistic expectations of others, detaching from negativity while setting healthy boundaries, embracing the wisdom of silence over retaliation, harnessing gratitude to dissolve anger instantly, reframing criticism as a powerful tool for self-growth, and finally, the path of letting go to achieve true emotional freedom. By applying these timeless teachings of emotional intelligence and mindful living, you will become unshakable in the face of negativity, maintaining calmness even during life's most stressful moments. You will feel empowered to protect your energy and preserve your peace, understanding when and how to engage or step back. Your awareness and mindfulness in handling emotions and relationships will deepen, guiding you to respond with compassion and wisdom rather than impulsivity or resentment. The Buddha's path is not merely a set of ideas but a lived experience, a transformation of the heart and mind that leads to lasting peace and spiritual growth. It invites us to walk gently through the world, cultivating patience, kindness, and self-awareness in every interaction. This gentle discipline nurtures a profound freedom, freeing us from the chains of anger, frustration, and the need for control. As you continue on this path, remember that every moment offers a new chance to practice. Each challenge becomes an opportunity for growth, every difficulty a teacher in disguise. The peace you seek is already within you, waiting to be uncovered through mindful attention and compassionate understanding. I encourage you to take what resonates most deeply from today's reflections and weave these insights into your daily life with patience and grace. Now, I invite you to share your own experiences. How have you encountered anger or frustration, and what practices have helped you reclaim peace? What challenges do you face in applying mindfulness and non-attachment in your relationships? Your stories and insights are valuable not only for your growth but for our entire community here. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below, your voice matters, and together we can support one another on this journey of emotional clarity and spiritual growth. If you found this video meaningful, consider subscribing to Mindful Pathway Media for more teachings rooted in Buddhist wisdom, designed to help you age with grace, cultivate inner peace, and embrace a mindful, compassionate way of living. Sharing this video with friends or loved ones who may benefit is a simple act of kindness that extends the ripple of peace far beyond these digital walls. Thank you for walking this mindful path with me today. May your heart remain gentle, your mind steady, and your spirit free.